Hoy en Review Juega, soy Sergio y vengo a hablar de Modern Naval Warfare, un simulador táctico de guerra naval que apuesta por una propuesta muy concreta y bastante ambiciosa. Ponernos al mando de un submarino nuclear moderno con un nivel de detalle, realismo e inmersión que busca acercarse más a una simulación dura que a un juego de acción tradicional. Estamos ante un título desarrollado por Wave Ops y publicado por Matrix Games, lanzado en acceso anticipado el 26 de mayo de 2026 para PC exclusivamente en Windows a través de Steam. Y aquí es importante dejar clara una cosa desde el principio. Modern Naval Warfare no es un arcade naval ni un shooter de barcos, sino una experiencia diseñada para quienes disfrutan de la simulación militar, de los procedimientos, de la tensión silenciosa de la guerra submarina y de la sensación de estar operando una máquina de guerra compleja, sofisticada y letal. Su planteamiento gira en torno al control de un submarino de ataque de la clase Virginia, una de las plataformas navales más avanzadas del mundo. Y la idea del juego es que el jugador no solo pilote el submarino, sino que se sumerja en sus sistemas, en su lectura táctica del entorno y en la toma de decisiones propias de una operación submarina moderna. La premisa de Modern Naval Warfare es muy potente porque no se limita a poner un periscopio en pantalla y lanzar torpedos, sino que intenta recrear la experiencia completa de una patrulla submarina contemporánea. Eso significa trabajar con sonar, gestión de contactos, interpretación del ruido del entorno, uso de sensores, navegación táctica, seguimiento de objetivos, control de profundidad, planificación de ataques y comprensión del espacio marítimo como un escenario tridimensional, donde la información es limitada, la visibilidad prácticamente inexistente y cada decisión puede comprometer tu posición. En otras palabras, es un juego donde el combate no se basa tanto en la velocidad de reflejos como en la paciencia, la lectura táctica y el dominio de sistemas. Uno de los grandes pilares del juego es precisamente su obsesión por la simulación. Modern Naval Warfare busca representar con mucho detalle el interior del submarino, sus estaciones de trabajo y la manera en la que se interactúa con ellas. En lugar de ofrecer una interfaz simplificada o una experiencia muy gamificada, apuesta por un enfoque más cercano al de un simulador especializado, donde parte del atractivo está en aprender cómo funciona la nave, cómo se organiza la información táctica y cómo se emplean sus herramientas para sobrevivir y completar misiones. Esta filosofía hace que el juego tenga una curva de aprendizaje elevada. Y eso es algo que puede ser una virtud enorme para cierto tipo de jugador, pero también una barrera bastante seria para quien llegue esperando una experiencia más directa o más accesible. A nivel visual, el juego intenta vender una imagen de simulación de nueva generación, con una presentación que combina interiores detallados del submarino, una representación del océano con condiciones dinámicas y un enfoque muy serio en la atmósfera. Hay una clara intención de transmitir la frialdad tecnológica del entorno militar, la sensación claustrofóbica de operar bajo el agua, y ese contraste entre la calma aparente del océano y la tensión brutal que se vive dentro de un submarino cuando hay contactos en el agua, amenazas en el entorno o un posible enfrentamiento en marcha. Cuando el juego consigue que todo eso conecte, la experiencia tiene mucho potencial, porque hay algo muy especial en sentarte frente a consolas llenas de datos, escuchar el silencio del fondo marino y saber que una pequeña firma acústica puede ser la diferencia entre detectar al enemigo o convertirte tú en el objetivo. También hay que hablar del enfoque táctico del título, porque es probablemente su principal razón de ser. Modern Naval Warfare no busca espectáculo inmediato, sino que intenta capturar la guerra naval desde la perspectiva de la información, la disciplina y la preparación. El combate aquí se construye a partir de la incertidumbre. Identificar contactos, interpretar firmas acústicas, determinar si un objetivo es hostil, calcular distancias, entender la geometría del ataque y decidir el momento exacto para actuar. Esa idea de combate lento, cerebral y metódico es precisamente lo que puede convertirlo en un juego fascinante para los amantes del género.
Soy Sergio. Today on Review Juega, I'm Sergio, and I'm taking a deep dive into Modern Naval Warfare, a tactical naval simulation that goes all in on one very specific and ambitious idea, putting us in command of the modern nuclear attack submarine with a level of detail, realism, and immersion that aims much closer to a hardcore simulator than to a traditional action game. This is a title developed by WaveOps and published by Matrix Games, released in early access on May 26, 2026, exclusively for PC via Steam. And I think it's important to make one thing clear right from the start: Modern Naval Warfare is not an arcade naval game, and it's definitely not a fast-paced shooter with boats and explosions every 5 seconds. This is a game built for players who enjoy military simulation, procedure-heavy gameplay, tactical decision-making, and the unique tension of underwater warfare. Its core concept revolves around commanding a Virginia-class attack submarine, one of the most advanced naval platforms in the world, and the game's main goal is not just to let you drive a submarine, but to immerse you in the systems, the tactical thinking, and the decision-making process behind modern submarine operations. That's what makes the premise of Modern Naval Warfare so interesting. It doesn't just throw you behind the periscope and ask you to fire torpedoes. Instead, it tries to recreate the full experience of a contemporary submarine patrol. That means dealing with sonar operations, contact tracking, acoustic signature analysis, sensor management, tactical navigation, target identification, depth control, attack planning, and the constant interpretation of a three-dimensional battle space where information is limited and every mistake can expose your position. In other words, this is a game where success depends far more on patience, situational awareness, and system mastery than on quick reflexes. One of the game's biggest pillars is its commitment to simulation. Modern Naval Warfare clearly wants to represent the inside of the submarine, its workstations, and the way players interact with those systems in a detailed and believable way. Instead of simplifying everything into a streamlined interface or turning the whole experience into something overly gamified, it leans much more toward the philosophy of a specialized military simulator, where part of the appeal comes from learning how the vessel works, understanding the flow of tactical information, and gradually mastering the tools you need to survive and complete missions. That approach gives the game a very steep learning curve, and that can either be one of its greatest strengths or one of its biggest barriers depending on what kind of player you are. Visually, the game tries to sell the fantasy of a next-generation naval simulator through detailed submarine interiors, a serious military presentation, and an atmosphere focused on tension rather than spectacle. There's a clear effort to capture the cold, technical nature of a military environment, the claustrophobic feeling of being sealed inside a steel machine beneath the ocean, and the contrast between the apparent calm of the sea and the immense pressure of an active combat situation. When the game manages to bring all of that together, it can be genuinely compelling. Because there's something special about sitting in front of a wall of instruments, listening to the silence of the ocean, and knowing that a faint acoustic contact could be the difference between tracking the enemy or becoming the target yourself. The tactical side of the game is probably its biggest selling point, because modern naval warfare is built around information warfare, stealth, and disciplined execution rather than constant visual action. Combat here is driven by uncertainty. You're not just looking at enemies in front of you and opening fire. You're identifying contacts, interpreting sonar returns, classifying signatures, determining whether something is hostile, estimating distance and direction, understanding the geometry of an engagement, and choosing the right moment to strike. That slow, methodical, highly cerebral approach to naval combat is exactly what makes the game potentially fascinating for the right audience. It's not about chaos or spectacle. It's about patience, control, and precision. However, one thing is the ambition of the project, and another is the actual state of the game at launch. And this is where modern naval warfare becomes much harder to evaluate. On paper, the concept is fantastic, and the foundation is clearly built around a very strong idea. But its early access launch has also been surrounded by criticism, and a lot of the discussion around the game has focused on its unfinished state, lack of polish, and technical issues that have had a serious impact on how players perceive it. Among the most common complaints from players are optimization problems, technical instability, bugs, crashes, inconsistent performance, and a general sense that the game may have been released too early considering its price point and the expectations surrounding it. There has also been criticism regarding missing or underdeveloped gameplay systems at launch, which is especially problematic in a title that sells itself as a deep tactical simulation. Games like this rely heavily on their core systems working properly. If the AI isn't convincing, if mission flow is rough, if enemy behavior feels incomplete, or if the simulation systems themselves aren't fully polished, the whole experience can start to feel less like a complete game and more like a promising framework that still needs a lot of work. And that connects directly to one of the most important things to understand about modern naval warfare. This is a niche game, a demanding game, and at the same time a game that is still under construction. So not only does it ask the player for time and dedication in order to learn its systems, it also asks for patience with its current flaws. If someone jumps into it expecting a fully polished campaign, a smooth onboarding process, or a steady stream of cinematic action, there's a good chance they'll walk away disappointed. But if the player knows exactly what they're getting into, loves submarine warfare, and is willing to treat early access as an investment in a long-term project, there is definitely something here worth paying attention to. In terms of content and overall gameplay feel, modern naval warfare stands out because of its emphasis on operational authenticity. The experience isn't built around flashy moments or blockbuster pacing. It's built around the credibility of the submarine systems, the management of tactical information, and the sensation of participating in a complex military operation. It wants you to feel like you're inside a real command environment, surrounded by instruments, reading the ocean through data instead of direct sight. And for the right player, that can be incredibly immersive. It creates a very different kind of tension from most war games. Here, silence matters. Information matters. Discipline matters. And the fear of being detected is often more intense than the act of attacking. As for reception and review scores, the game's initial response has been clearly mixed. On Steam, it has sat around a mixed overall user rating, with positive reviews hovering at roughly 58% during its early period, while more recent user sentiment has at times dipped closer to the 42%, 44% positive range depending on the moment and review sample. Those numbers reflect the game's split identity very well. On one side, there are players genuinely impressed by its ambition, its atmosphere, and its potential as a modern naval simulator. On the other, there are plenty of users frustrated by the technical state of the game, the rough early access launch, and the feeling that the current version doesn't fully justify either its promises or its asking price. And honestly, that's probably the most accurate way to define modern naval warfare right now. A highly ambitious submarine simulation with a powerful core concept, a clear identity, and a lot of long-term potential, but one that currently feels more like a serious promise than a fully realized product. Its greatest strength is the immersion it can create, the respect it shows for the complexity of submarine combat, and the sense of authenticity behind its systems. Its biggest weakness, at least for now, is that it still carries too many rough edges to recommend without reservations to a broader audience. If I had to sum it up for review Juega in one sentence, I'd say this. Modern Naval Warfare is a deeply ambitious submarine combat simulator that tries to bring modern naval warfare into the realm of hardcore tactical realism. But in its current state it feels more like the foundation of something potentially greater than a fully polished and dependable experience. So in the end, Modern Naval Warfare is a game aimed at a very specific kind of player. Someone who enjoys learning systems, studying procedures, reading tactical information, and experiencing warfare through tension, stealth, and calculation rather than spectacle. If the developers continue improving it, expanding it, and polishing the systems that already show promise, it could eventually become a standout title in the world of modern military simulation. But right now, it's a game caught between fascination and frustration, between impressive ambition and the limitations of an early access launch that still has a long journey ahead of it.